it still feels quite surreal. I absolutely adore Peter Jackson's films, so to be a very small part of it is of Middle Earth is very humbling.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, what is your relationship to the Tolkien lore and to the films in general?
Yeah, I mean, I adore Peter Jackson's movies. I've probably rewatched the extended edition at least once a year. And
Yeah,
I
same.
yeah, yeah. And I read the Hobbit books and the Hobbit book and Lord of the Rings when I was a boy as the films were coming out. I'd finished all of them by the time The Return of the King had come out. So I must have been about 10 when I read them. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's, because a lot of people say, well, I saw the movie first and then I got into the books because they're massive and it's a lot to take in. But you were 10. Oh my God, that's really, really young.
Well, I was such a bookworm. No, well, I had watched two of the films before I'd finished all of the books, to be
Yeah.
fair. So I'm
Okay.
not, I
Yeah.
wish I could say I'm not a proper Tolkien fan.
No, but yeah, you are. I feel like you are. Um, but so Tolkien, I'm assuming it's important in your family. I was gonna ask, is there any family pressure when you told them that you were part of Rings of Power? Anyone were trying like to get you to tell them spoilers, and because there's so much secrecy and so much things that cannot be told.
Yeah, well, when it was finally announced that I was in it, um, one of my cousins, I mean, a lot of my cousins adore Lord of the Rings. One of my cousins, she's a massive fan, and she did her final dissertation at university about the female characters in Tolkien's work.
Oh,
And
nice.
so on the night it was announced, I went to their house to tell them, and she asked me what I had to do with my self-tape. And in my audition for it, I had a fishing rod. And obviously I'm not allowed to tell anyone the character I'm playing or the kind of being I am at that point. And I said, "Oh, I had a fishing rod in my self-tape." And she went, "Fishing rod, river folk, you're a store." And I was like, "Okay, I was like, Serena, you cannot tell anyone." I mean, my face gave it away. I was like, you cannot tell anyone." So for her, I felt a big responsibility to do really well. And for some of my other cousins and all my family who, when we watched The Return of the King, we all sat in a row in a cinema. And we're like, yeah, yeah. So lots of
That
fans. Family.
Yeah, that's so cool. The fact that she knew you said like two words and she
Oh.
knew right away.
Like Sherlock Holmes, she was like, dum dum dum. That's what you are. I was like, whoa, wow.
She like knew even before you did.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And all I said is fishing rod. And I was like, wow.
Wow, that's so cool though. But because I mean, the store are because we know the hobbits and now we know the Hotfoots and the store they're a branch of the hobbits. But so I was wondering if you, because I'm assuming you did so much research about who they were and how they got where they were. So I was wondering if you could have, let's imagine that you could have met Tolkien and sat behind the monitor during a scene with him, what is one question or one aspect of your character that you wish you could have asked him about, just to get his reactions on and maybe his genius to talk about your character?
Wow, that's a great question. I'd have been really in because obviously in the law, in his work, he refers to the stores being river folk. I'd have
Yeah.
been really interested to see what he thought about in this version of this adaptation of Lord of the Rings, of the Rings of Power, what he felt about the stores starting in Rune, in this really arid land. And I imagine hopefully venturing to a place where they are by a water source and so like the what did he make of these people who are from a really dry place with very little water to then to be in a place where there's an abundance of it. So from going from where water is such a sacred um a resource that's short to being an abundant one. I think that's
Mm.
what I'd ask him. No, that's not so much about my character though. A hard one. I don't know what I'd ask him specifically about Merrimack. Um, oh, sorry, I'm not quite answered that. I hope that's
That
okay.
that's okay. I feel like your first answer was very good as well. I would maybe ask him if he's got any relation to Mary from the Hobbits. If it's a very remote family because it's not the same name exactly, but we can,
Yeah, Merry, or even Smeagol
and
or
it's
Gollum.
yeah. Well, yeah, that would be kind of crazy. But because I mean, obviously Merrimack, his name is nobody in this show. I mean, everybody calls him nobody because it's the one that's stuck. And it's really sad. It's really sad to, I'm assuming, for you to discover this character and realize that, he's being taken for granted basically because he's just like an object, like something to light up the mood in a way, and he doesn't need to have a name. So I'm assuming for you, how did that feel like when you read that? Did was that like a bridge for you to really get have an access to him, through his emotions and feelings in a way?
Yeah, it's that's a great question. It definitely gives you a real. I think it's very indicative of his character that he's called nobody and he doesn't really correct anyone. I think
Yeah.
that's really telling of himself and his sense of self-worth. But also, I always think a lot of what he's doing is very courageous. Like he's stealing water from these people who
Yeah.
are hunting down his people in his community. So his instincts are very like to serve others and to be there for others and are quite heroic. And
Mm.
I don't know, I'd be interested to see, having met Poppy now and Nori, and obviously, as he's hopefully as his confidence builds, how he will develop and stand in. I think the seed of like a hero is already there, even though he's described as a nobody. I think there's like all the hobbits, like Frodo and Sam, even though
Yeah.
they're farmers, that I love the bit in the films I always love is when Sam says to Frodo, "I can't carry it for you, but I can carry you."
You.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think that's really, I think nobody's very much like that. You know,
Mm.
I think he would be like that too.
I think so too. Yeah, that I got that feeling as well. But I think the fact that he's being called nobody, it might even be, I don't know if I'm reading too much into this, but it might even be a metaphor for how Hartfoot and the store and the hobbits later on will be feeling like they are less than everybody else in Middle Earth because they're not elvish, they're not elves, they're not humans, they're not from Numenor, they don't have great power. So I feel like it's a very good metaphor to be like, well, right now I'm nobody, but wait and see what I can do?
Yeah, yeah. Is it Gandalf? It says the smallest person could change the course of the whole world. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I felt like, and because he's feeling lost, he's kind of feeling lost. And so the fact that there's this problem of identity that he doesn't really get to be named by a real name. And he's always, I don't know, he kind of seems lost. He's kind of looking around and doesn't really know what's happening. Even towards the end of the final episode, I'm like, well, I don't know what's gonna happen with him and Poppy then, and I'm just really curious. And do you already have a theory or an idea or even a wish for you to see Merrimack um, just take on the adventure and see what happens next?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and on what you said, I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing him find himself. And whether
Mm.
that's through Poppy or with the company, that'd be amazing. And also, obviously, they have to find the Suzette or the Shire. I think that's the next at some point. And so
Yeah.
enjoy that journey into whatever comes through that.
Yeah, that would be amazing to see all of them finally arrive in the Shire towards the final the end of the series. That would be kind of crazy. I'm betting that a lot of people would be crying seeing the Shire
Oh,
once again
yeah, yeah.
on
Oh,
TV.
same. I'd be amazing to get to film on that set and to just see it. That would be wonderful. I
Yeah.
think also something I'm hoping for is I remember reading that some of the hobbits are really good bowmen. So I'm hoping Merrimack gets to meet Arondir or or even Galadriel, and they could. Oh, I don't know. That's just me, really, 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 really wishful. I don't know if
You're
that's
just
good.
yeah, you're just being fully geeking out right now. I understand. I get that absolutely. I think it's time for my last question. The audition process, was it always for Merrimack? Did you ever audition for somebody else in the show?
I mean, I had no idea who I was auditioning for, because it was also secret.
Yeah.
So I was given the part was a pseudonym. Like they gave me a different name. I think the character I was auditioning for was called Wildred, And then I did a tape and an audition in person with the casting director. And then I think then I had a chemistry read with Megan. And so I knew, okay, so there's a romance, but I had no idea what kind
Yeah.
of being I was. I always, my friends always thought if I was going to be in it, I'd probably be an elf. But no,
Oh,
I'm a store.
that's nice. That's great. That's great. Yeah, because there's so much secrecy, and I think it's Charlie Vickers who only knew 2 or 3 episodes in that he was gonna be. They took him apart. They were like, "Oh, by the way, you're Sauron." So he was like, "Oh, wow."
I would say Charlie's one of the loveliest people I've met. He's
He is.
nothing
I
sour.
spoke. Yeah, I spoke with him yesterday. He really is. It doesn't. He doesn't have. I mean, he apparently he has Sauron in him, but it's not obvious when you first
Yeah.
introduce to him. Yeah,
I mean,
but
the only Sauron thing about him is he's a Tottenham Hotspur fan, and that's just unforgivable. But I
well,
was an Arsenal
I
fan.
I would love to pretend that I know what you're talking about. I know it's about football, but I'm with you. You know what? I'm gonna I'm gonna be with you on this one and say that he is wrong. Absolutely. But Gavi, they're giving me the wrap. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Honestly,
Congratulations. Yeah, it
thanks.
was really nice to meet you, and best of luck for the rest of the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Take
Thank
care.
you.